Here we are today on Empowered by Example's very first episode. My name is Laura Rock. I'm from the Rock Family Foundation, and today I have the pleasure of sitting down with Jordan Rooney. He is CEO of Never Fear Being Different Incorporated, and he's coming to us today to talk to us about a program called Vlog You. And I'm just thrilled to have you here because you're a big reason why we're sitting here. Jordan has been working on this podcast with me for a few months, and today's the day.
I know,
Right? It
so
just
much,
showed up.
not a ton of stress, a little bit of stress, a lot of pressure here. I think just working on your personal brand, I was so excited about it because it's exactly what when I talk to people, I'm like, you should have a personal brand. Why don't you have a personal brand? And I said it to you, and then you were like, a couple months later.
I should have a personal brand.
Yeah.
Why don't I have a personal brand?
Right,
Yeah.
and then now we're doing it,
Yep.
so it's
And
awesome.
It's here. And
Yep.
let's go ahead and just go through some small talk really fast.
Okay.
Tell me, where are you from?
I'm from Newcastle, Pennsylvania.
And where do you live now?
I live in Lawrenceville.
Where was your favorite place you ever lived?
Honestly, favorite place I ever lived was when I lived in Poland. I played professional American football overseas. So I lived in Serbia, I lived in Poland, I spent a couple weeks in Brazil.
Where in Poland?
Szczecin, so it's northwest, about an hour and a half east of Berlin.
Awesome. Very cool.
Yeah, so I grew up in Newcastle. I went to Westminster, it's just 12 miles up the road. My mom loved that decision, but I never really escaped my environment. So when I got away, it was the first time I ever really got to discover myself and like fully adapt, and like I had to evolve. I had no choice but to evolve, and I was just on my own. And that's ultimately, like, anything you're seeing now was because I got out of my environment.
I heard your name probably 10 times before I was like, okay, we have to find out who Jordan is, because everyone knows his name. That's whenever we called you up and we met in a coffee shop, and then you like dropped like 17 truth bombs and then went about your way. So how do you remember it?
Yeah, no, I think it's nice to know that multiple people were saying that you should meet with me.
Yes.
Because I remember times where I had to like beg for people to meet with me. So knowing that people are seeing the value in what I have to offer is cool. I didn't know what to expect meeting you, and I didn't know what you'd wanted, and I think we talked. I'm like, all right, well, I'm just going to use this as like an opportunity to get on my soapbox and say, like, I care about building personal brands for positive people. You should have one.
Right.
And then I think that's led us to where we are today.
Absolutely. I think that was the first little breadcrumb, and then you just kept dropping them, and I'm like, what are we doing? Where are we? Okay. We need to listen to Jordan tell us how to be ourselves. Is that something you do often? Tell people how to be themselves?
Yeah, I think it's a constant reminder that, like, if you want to have an impact, it needs to be from you. If you want to grow, we need to understand yourself. There's a self-awareness aspect, and there's an aspect to it where like people need to be able to feel who you are. I think too often people put up this facade to get through their daily life, and they kind of play the game. Like, this is how I am at work. This is how I am in this situation. This is how I am when I'm here. And it's like, everything doesn't need to be calculated in terms of your interactions. You can actually be who you are all the time. And the outcomes that come from that come from you being who you are, not just who you pretend that you want to be. Like, the most sustainable business model in the world is like, be yourself. It's so easy to scale yourself. It's not easy to scale something that you're not, because you always have to turn that off and on. And that's what I learned. It's like, I can grow being me. I can't grow being something I'm not, because I put that mask on during the day. I have small talk with you. We talk about the weather. I think that, you view most people, they go throughout their day and they have meaningless conversations, and their interactions are forced, and they never get anything out of that. Like, even now, just talking to you, us getting to like be ourselves, I'm taking things away from this. You're taking things away from what I'm saying. Imagine if like this was just small talk, if we just talked about the weather. Whenever anyone talks to me about the weather, I'm like, I've been outside. I saw the weather. I felt it. I have an app. Like, I don't care. Like, oh, did you see what happened in the game yesterday? Yeah, I have ESPN. I saw, like, talk to you about something real. Like, give me something unique to think about. Don't just have the same conversation with me that you had with him and her and him. So many people out there just have the same conversations every day, and they say the same things over and over again. I'm constantly challenging myself to think in a way that other people aren't thinking, so I can say things that people aren't saying, and I'm doing things that other people aren't doing.
Where do you think we learn about these compartments? And I am 100% recovering compartmentalizer. Like, I have been Laura, you know, at the Mommy and Me class. I've been Laura, who now runs a foundation. I've been Laura the wife. I've been Laura, you know, I facilitate coaching for people. I do all these different things. Where do we learn that we have to compartmentalize those?
I would say is you're taught in school.
Okay.
You're taught, you know, early on. Even
We're
like,
learning science.
yes, like
We're
this
learning
is
English.
this is what you're doing. This is how you should be. This is the way you should act. Which, yes, I get. There's a certain aspect, like you should have respect when how you interact with other people and how you should interact with adults, your elders. I get that. But then there's also an element too where it's like, and this is what I'm really big on, let the kids talk.
Right.
Let them speak. Let's hear what they have to say.
They don't have to be quiet.
Yes, they don't have to be quiet. You don't have to just
Raise
say
their hands.
yes.
Right.
Right. And I think, you know, even things as simple as like speech class. High school kids struggle to communicate. Why? Well, because you make them talk about the Crucible in 1984.
Oh, bringing me back.
You know what I mean? Like
it's
ask
so
them.
lame.
Yeah, like that's what their speech class is predicated on. Is something that they don't care about at all.
Right.
Why does it have to be that way? Then they struggle to communicate. I didn't talk in class at all. Well, I did, like to joke around, and I got in trouble all the time because I was bored with 1984 in the Crucible. I understand there's things that are mandated, but you can come up with creative ways to bring personality out of young people.
That's so funny that you were talking about things that you wanted to talk about, and my personality was, let me just see if I can answer this question so we can move on, because it's paining me. Like, I'm in pain.
Yeah.
Please let me, is it this?
Right.
Can we do something?
Yeah. So I think early on we are taught, like, this is the version of you when you're here. This is the version of you when you're here. Oh, cafeteria. Go be yourself.
Have fun.
Just don't be
Sit
too
with your
loud.
friends.
Yeah, like sit with your friends. All right, we're done.
Right.
Clean up. Come back.
Recess.
Yeah. Right. Like, you know, not to knock the education system, but like there can be more done. And like we see in Pittsburgh, especially, organizations do a great job of this. Like partner networks like Remake Learning have changed the game. But when I was in high school, we didn't really have things like that. And we were always taught this is the way you are. And the way that like things were structured, it was just the same thing every class. Here's homework. Here's your work for today.
Read
Here's whatever.
this.
Do this, do that, do that, do this, do that. Write an essay on it. We're never taught to communicate. We're never taught to have a unique perspective. We're never taught to argue. We're never taught to have a unique viewpoint. So I think early on we're taught it, and then from there, what do we say about getting a career? All right, go get a career that's going to help you to have a 401k and a retirement plan. So when you're 65, you'll be able to retire in Florida.
And now it's 70.
Yeah, and it's
so-
like, yeah, right. Like that's, it's, what fun is that? Like
None.
yeah. So I think everyone is taught early on that like you just got to put this face on. You got to get through it. You got to, you know, you
Grin
clock
and bear
out.
it.
Yeah, and it sucks. It's boring. It's boring, and I never wanted to do that, and I never wanted to settle with that. Has it made people mad? Yes. But has it helped a lot of people? Yes. Which one do you think I care more about?
Probably the helping the people.
Yeah, right?
Probably not really worried about how people feel about it if they're mad about it.
The people who are mad about it, you know what they're mad about? The fact that they are stuck.
I agree with you. They're projecting that onto you. They don't need to look into themselves if they're judging you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
The reason that I needed to find out who you were was that you were doing this program called Vlog You. And it was very important to me in the work that the Rock Family Foundation is doing that we are always thinking about the people that we are serving and asking them what it is that they need instead of prescribing them what we think that they need. And Vlog You was, you know, this hot spot all throughout Pittsburgh where people are saying, here's someone who's doing something with youth voice. And that is what really led me to you. So can you tell me more about Vlog You?
Yeah, and I honestly don't like when it's categorized. Like, especially in the nonprofit sector, they love to categorize. Oh, what is this? You know, and I fill out my grants. What is this? I'm like, yeah, okay. It's education. I mean, you know how it is. If I'm applying for someone who's focused on
switch
education,
it over here.
this is education. It's a summer program. Here's this. It's like that's just playing the nonprofit game. Okay, I can do that. But in general, when I describe it, I tell people it's like it's not exactly what you think it is. This is teaching young people how to not only be financially free, but to be free in the way that they think, to be able to communicate better. It's showing them how to be positively reinforced with their voice, so there is a youth voice element to it. But even beyond that, it's getting them to be involved in combining impact with influence. So this is what I said to you in our first meeting. Over 80% of the US population now uses at least one social media platform. This is where we're influenced, this is where we consume our information, this is where we receive our news. If you are now rejecting social media, where do you think you're going to stand in terms of having an impact on society? Because you're not going to be heard. You know, people say, well, I'm used to having a physical impact. Great. Well, you reached 5 people a day. I just reached 5,000. So if this is where we are consuming our information and where we're influenced, why would you reject this? Now, I run the digital marketing for one of the biggest law firms on the East Coast. I consult with like 10 to 15 other companies. You know, I did all this not because I have a marketing degree. I don't have one. I've never taken a marketing class. I don't know anything about marketing theories or anything else. That stuff just sounds boring to me. What I realized though is like social media is social. It's about relatability. It's about being able to understand people, how to have a unique perspective, being able to have a conversation in a way that's saying the things that other people aren't saying because you're thinking the things other people aren't thinking. And so if you went through life playing the game with the facade up where you just have those meaningless conversations every day, you're terrible for social media. You have no idea how to be yourself. And so when you look at traditional marketing agencies, how they're set up, not to, you know, they can be mad at me, but a lot of those people, they had to get there by playing the game. They chased promotions their entire lives. And so what I've seen is like young people now, they don't have meaningless conversations. They will ignore you if you're not entertaining them.
Right.
And you can be mad at that, or you could say, how do we embrace this for good? They're gonna use social media, they're gonna use it. They're using it regardless. If you were in high school and your parents were super strict, as soon as you got to college,
You were crazy.
you were crazy.
You were wild.
Why is that, right? Same thing with social media. If you're telling kids to stay off of it, well, they're not saying, how can I use this for good? They're like, all right, as soon as I get on there, I'm gonna party on there, right? You know, like, so when you look at that, it's where they communicate, there's career development to it, and you can have real impact. Why would we not teach young people how to use it for good? So that's why I started Vlog University, because there are agencies out there right now that operate, like they work with huge companies. In the requirement, you have to be a teenager.
You have to be a teenager, that's it.
You have to be a
think
teenager.
like a teenager,
Right.
so you should be one. And I think it's worth noting that, yes, there is all of this negative stuff on social media, and we've talked about that.
Yeah.
And we acknowledge that. But it doesn't have to be a this or that. Like, yes, and. So there is all of this negative stuff out there. Yes.
There is.
And.
Yes, there is. It's
yes.
It's
Right.
you know, people.
But you're teaching them how to decipher if something is real or fake news. You're teaching them how to decipher whether something is propaganda or not. Like that, those are important skills that most adults don't have, which is why, we get so sucked in and, we're spouting all of this fake information because we saw it on Facebook. So if you're teaching people how to know one or the other, that's really huge. That's a big deal.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think you look at the arguments against social media. I'm staying off there. Everyone's living a fake life on there. Everyone's acting happier. It's a highlight reel.
Right.
I'm like, okay, so if I were to talk to you in person right now, you would tell me everything you're vulnerable about, all of your relationship issues, everything you're struggling. You know what I mean?
I'll read it.
Like, so what you're saying is on social media people are fake,
Right.
but then in person, if I talk to you, you're real. No, that's not what happens. Like, people just post things from their vacation. What do you want them to post? Like, them sitting watching Netflix?
You don't want to see their food. You don't want to see their kids.
Right.
You don't want to see all these things.
Yeah.
So yeah, exactly. What is it that you want them
Let
to say?
people live. Let them showcase their life. There's nothing wrong with that. But I think what we need to do is we need to shift the narrative from it just being informative about just documenting what we do every day, and we all start taking unique standpoints and having a framework of here's how we want to utilize social media for good. We want to be solution-based. Here's the things I care about. Well, I'm not just going to complain about them. I'm going to come up with solutions to them.
Right.
Or here's this initiative I want to help. Well, here's how I'm going to help bring money to it. Here's how I'm going to promote it. Because you start to become an active participant in social media. You don't just become a consumer. You're not just someone who just consumes things. You become a creator as well. You become a part of the platform.
I think that's exactly, you kind of encapsulated what Empower by Example is actually about. Because yes, there's so many things that we want to change. And yes, there's so many things that we want to do. And are we doing them? Are we doing the things that we say over and over again we really wish we could do? And that's what this campaign, I guess that's what we're going to call it. That's what it's all about. It's like call to action. Like, are you doing it?
Right.
Did you really want to do it, or did you just want to talk about doing it? And I come from a place where I was just talking about wanting to do it for years and years and years, and giving excuse after excuse after excuse. The biggest excuse being, what are people going to think if I do that? Why should I care? If they have a problem with it, then they actually have a problem with something about themselves.
The only difference is, like, now there's a platform for people to judge you. People have always have judged you.
Absolutely.
This
People
is
judged you the second
like,
you walked into the mall or the street or wherever you were.
Every single interaction you have, someone's judging you. Like, there's this belief where it's like, oh, we shouldn't judge people. You judge people. The person saying that judges people. Doesn't all need to be negative, but you develop a thought about that person, and like you come up with a judgment. Why do first impressions matter? You know what I mean? Like,
they do.
They
Absolutely.
do.
Now we just have a mechanism that looks like a heart or like a down, like a frowny face or whatever it is that we can press and be like, this is my judgment of that.
Right. Yeah. Like so people are like, oh, you know, we shouldn't put ourselves out there, because I'm like, okay, well, how many people did you talk to today? Because all of them judged you. Did you walk through a mall? Well, you walked through 500 people. All of those people judge you. Like, stop acting like people act like they're above it. I'm like, listen, you're not above it, because this is where we communicate.
How much did you judge that person that cut you off earlier today?
Right, yeah.
And who did you tell about it?
Right.
And that was the thing that you did all day, was judge that person.
Rejecting social media right now, because I get so many people who reject it. It's essentially saying this: before texting came out, you talked on the phone. Then texting came out, and you're like, well, I don't want to reach people quicker. I just want to talk on the phone. It's like,
really?
Well, why wouldn't you do that? Have you adapted texting? Everyone's adapted texting. Why would you reject the thing that helps you reach people quicker and amplifies your impact to even more people? You wouldn't do that. Right. You can text multiple people at a time. You only talk to one person on the phone.
We all have, you know, the relative or the person in their community who still refuses to shop on the internet.
Yeah.
And you know what? I got that cool thing and you don't.
You didn't get it. Right.
You didn't get it. So yeah, if you're denying social media, you're like the person who's denying shopping on the internet.
Yeah.
Can you think of like a defining moment where you were like, I never want to fear being different?
Yeah, I'd say there's been a couple different moments in my life. I think it's waking up feeling like meaningless and like you don't have any control. You can look at that in two ways. You can find ways to justify to yourself, pretty much make up lies to yourself about how you are, or ultimately say, I really don't matter. How can I start to do more to matter? And not in a matter of like getting accolades, but like being able to have more of an impact, a unique impact. I always say it's a difference between having an impact and a functional impact. Like, you have a functional impact. You don't just say, here's money. If you did that, you'd be like, all right, I'm having an impact. But you are an active part in the things that you have an impact in.
Well, that's exactly the thing that I wasn't getting feelings about anymore, because I was sending checks. I was sending big checks. I was like earning a lot of this money and campaigning and doing all this stuff and sending big checks to people and then being like, what?
Right, yeah. So for me, it was like, okay, yeah, I can say that I do nice things for people, but what if I'm actually like an active participant in changing all of the things that currently bother me? And so I started to study how other people have disrupted industries, disrupted society is what I always say. So like, you know, I look at like hip hop, I look at people like Tyler, the Creator, and Kid Cudi, and I look at like Gary Vaynerchuk for marketing, and you see all these different people who've like, within their industry, they've done things where people are like, right away,
you can't do that.
What are you doing?
Right.
Like, stop, what do you do? Like, what is this? And then eventually, someone comes on board. And then another person, there's a good quote, no matter how you feel about him, I always talk about this quote, it's from Kanye West. It says, they'll call you crazy until it comes into fruition. And it's true.
And now he has sinks that have no basins. Have you seen this?
Yes, it's crazy, right? And he is crazy. Like, there's good reasons to call him crazy,
sure.
but
no, I'm just saying,
yeah,
I'm
but
sure
just
that was crazy,
right?
And there it is.
Right, but just from an
now.
idea perspective, you know, they will call you crazy until like it becomes a trend to support you. That's what I realized. People doubted me until it became a trend to support me. So I received my inspiration from realizing that like, I don't matter, I'm not doing anything important, I can pretend like I am, I can go get a meaningless job and tell myself every day that like, here's why I'm getting up, but I'd be faking it. I wouldn't believe that. And I kind of wanted to see through myself. Like, I want to see through my own bullshit, pretty much. And we're like, no, you're lying to yourself. Stop lying to yourself. You don't matter. You aren't doing enough. There is more that you could be doing. people don't really have a reason to like think that you're unique in what you do. And so I started to really look inside myself, and I'm like, well, what am I good at? What do I have to offer? And it's things like this. It's being able to take, looking at traditional institutions, looking at things on how things have always been done, basically saying there's a new way of doing things, and here's how we implement it, here's how we build, here's how we rally around it, here's how we get people to care about it, and here's where we implement it. And so that's why I created Never Fear Being Different, because I felt that like I was that way, but I wasn't acting on it. So I wanted to act on it, and then I wanted to teach other people how they could act on it too. Because ultimately the concept behind Never Fear Being Different is everyone has this inside of them. They all have something that burns inside of them, that drives them in what they want to do and who they want to be. But it's entirely up to the person if they want to bring it out. And I just wanted to bring it out. And I wanted to teach other people how they can bring it out as well.
Yes, you do matter, and you are going to back it up.
Right.
You have this whole population of people who are telling themselves affirmations in the mirror in the morning about how important they are and how wonderful they are. I'm not saying you shouldn't do that. I'm saying, are you backing that up? Like,
Exactly.
Is that actually happening? Like, that important thing that you say that you're going to do, is it happening?
Great point. And I think it's a matter of like knowing that like, yeah, you can say like, yeah, I held that door for someone, but is that sustained impact? Is that, yes, that's a nice thing that you did, but is that really bringing that, like that burning fire inside of you? Like how many people you held the door for? And then when you couple that with your conversations about the weather, it's like, this is what you're spending your days on?
How's the weather?
How's the weather?
Just
like
open
just
the-
open
just
at the same time. Like how's the
yeah.
weather? Yeah. Like this is what you're spending your days on. Are you really happy with that? I would argue that most people are not.
You're probably right about that. And I think that's why we have such high rates of anxiety, we have high rates of depression, we have high rates of people not knowing what they're doing with their lives. And it absolutely comes back to what you're saying, which is they wake up in the morning not really knowing which of themselves they are.
Right. And it's even this. So we have 8 college interns, and I say to them, I'm like, you're not getting anyone coffee, you're not making any copies, you are now a part of this business. You're a driving force of this business. When you look at traditional institutions, you look at corporations, I could plug you in as an intern, and I can take you out, and I can put another one right in.
Disposable.
Yes, you're disposable. And honestly, not even intern, look one step above.
Oh, entry level, absolutely.
You are disposable.
Managers.
What's your purpose of getting up every day? Trying to get a promotion? Trying to please someone who maybe isn't even a great leader, who's maybe never going to notice? Maybe there's not even anything in the budget for you. So you're driven by receiving external validation that may never even come. And what is it? A 2% raise?
Right.
$5,000 that, now you can...
Pay more taxes.
Right. Yeah, that's exactly it. And so, I wanted to create something where it's like, no, everyone in here matters. And it puts me at risk because it's not all on me. Like it's not just, all right, Jordan oversees everything, these people are disposable, but at least we're safe. No. These people play a part, and this establishes culture. Businesses all the time talk about culture. What's our culture? What's our culture? But if you have employees who are disposable,
It's a terrible culture.
what is the culture there?
That's the culture of fear.
Yeah,
That's
what is the
of
culture?
Not mattering.
Right. So I truly believe that like more people should transition to finding a way to make $30,000 a year, being free,
Right.
doing something they love,
While
having
they're
a side
building up,
hustle.
right, building up what they want to do, what they actually
And
want
even
to be
with
doing.
that, building up transferable skills. All right, you sell insurance. This isn't getting on insurance people, but maybe they should open their
Example.
eyes to it. Okay, you did that for 5 years. What else would you be good at? Selling insurance.
Right.
Like, you know what I mean? Like it's having transferable skills too. Like, and then a lot of people, they get in the position where like, all right, well, we want to make you a manager, but you don't have any leadership experience. Well, who's
going
supposed
to give it to me?
Right.
Right. I've been here for 5
Right.
years. I'd like to have that.
So I truly believe you're going to see a shift, and this is where it comes with everything I'm creating with Never Fear Being Different and Vlog University, and all the marketing efforts that we do. You're seeing a shift where people who are young and creative and talented no longer want to wait in line. They no longer want to play the game and say, hey, I want to just get up and talk about the weather and have small talk every day
Not
for
the
5
water
years
cooler.
until you say to me one day, you're doing a good job. I want to give you a promotion. And then I want to give you another promotion, another 5 years. I want to make you a manager 5 years after that. And just so you know, your 401k is going to look great, and your retirement plan, when you're 70, you're really going to enjoy. What kind of life is that? That life sucks.
It does suck.
It sucks.
It's a 45-minute
So-
commute each way.
Yeah,
Why?
right. And
Why?
so when you talk about anxiety and depression, well, that stuff has an impact on it. Yes, mental illness, there are things to that. There's signs.
chemical imbalances.
Yes, there is.
Absolutely.
But there are things that trigger that as well. If you were removing stress from your environment, well, you're less likely to trigger those things.
And if you're making your own work schedule and you're able to do things on your own time and meet your deadlines and get paid, that sounds a lot less stressful.
Best feeling in the world. I work with whoever I want. I talk to whoever I want. I engage in whatever I want. No one controls my happiness. And then even you see, he's 21. He's leading all this video efforts.
Right.
Who else would do that? Who else would give a 21-year-old that opportunity? You know what I mean? And it very rarely happens. But why do I do that? It's like, I don't care what all you've done in the past. You haven't had a chance to. You're 21.
You got to learn.
You got to learn.
Right.
But what I do see is potential, and I can teach you everything I've learned that would give you those 5 years of experience, because you shouldn't have to wait in line. You shouldn't have to go work a job you hate for 5 years and get up and pretend to play the game just so you can get that experience.
Go get more education. Don't forget those extra degrees.
Right.
And the extra
Yep.
student debt.
Yep.
Got to have the student debt.
Exactly.
Right. So you're giving them a real education on the job, and it's transferable skills that
Yeah.
they can take with them and do whatever they want.
It's opportunity.
Tell me what defines VlogU. What is it built on?
VlogU has 3 main elements. First is digital information literacy. Fake news. It's a big problem. Second element, effective online leadership. Talk about youth voice. Building a personal brand is important. Do you want to have an impact? Do you want to make money? Do you want to network? Do you want to be seen? Do you want to be heard? Build
your
a personal
purpose?
brand. What's
Right.
your purpose?
Right.
You're using social media with a purpose. You're building your own online movement. Third element, career development. Companies out there are struggling to be cool and interesting. They're struggling to be heard. Social media is a marketplace. If you were to walk into Walmart right now, who would you be buying a product from?
Walmart.
Walmart, okay? But if you were to go to a flea market, who would you be buying from? Different markets and
Yeah.
individual sellers. Now, I could say at a flea market, we're gonna spend a lot of money on our sign and our tent and our table. But does that guarantee people are coming to it?
No, it really depends on if they walk by.
Yeah, and it's their choice.
Right.
Social media is a marketplace. People choose what they want to consume. So it's not about how much money you spend or the resources you have. It's your ability to appeal to people, your ability to relate, your ability to understand people. So it's not just who has the biggest sign, it's who has one that is the funniest, or who has the product that is going to solve my problem, like things like that. So when you look at building brands, companies have no idea to do that. They have been set up for hundreds of years. Whoever spends the most money, they get the most out of their marketing.
Right.
It's not that anymore.
No.
So who better to teach you how to be self-aware and cool and interesting and unique in the digital age than the ones who grew up with a phone in their hands?
Right. And not to mention, they are the consumers now.
Exactly.
And they can tell you what is going to catch attention and what is not.
They set communication trends. That trend, that slogan that someone's using on Facebook, well, that was on Twitter 2 years ago.
Right, exactly. And it got picked up and shared enough that it kind of embedded in everyone's subconscious.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
and it's a hashtag.
Now it's a hashtag. Yeah, Twitter accounts right now that are good at posting GIFs. They're good at posting memes. They're good at using emojis. Well, does having your 3 master's degrees in marketing help you be good at that?
No.
No.
You have to watch the younger crowd do
Yes.
it. You have to watch it.
Or just have them do it
Or
for you.
just have them
Right.
do it, which
That's-
I'm all on board for too.
So that's what we're doing with Vlog University is stop pretending that these kids have to go and work for 10 years. Let's have them step right in. And I'm giving them the tools. I understand marketing. I understand how agencies work. I understand how internal marketing teams work. So I'm teaching them all that stuff. They're getting the experience from me. It's an accelerated version of what they would get if they were to spend 5 years learning how to put together a pitch deck or whatever else. And then I'm not touching their creative freedom at all. That remains the same. So the goal is then they go work with nonprofits, small businesses, or even agencies, and they're walking right into roles because
Growing
they
the
understand how,
craft.
yep, that's exactly it.
Just kind of growing it from there. This was great. This
Yeah.
was great. So I hope you come back on.
Yeah.
You know?
I mean, I'm a
I
part
know,
of it,
I know,
so
I know.
it's,
It's
I'll be
so
here.
easy, yeah. So I hope we get to talk again. I feel like we just scratched the surface here, but VlogU is an amazing achievement,
Thank you.
and the ripple effect from what you're doing there is, I think that there's a lot of things that you could point to that would maybe be a part of what your legacy will be, I really think that Vlog You is it's up there.
I hope so.
Crown jewel
Yeah,
status.
I really appreciate it. And obviously, you know, I really like being able to have this conversation with you because I can be open. We can, you know, challenge each other in our thoughts, but I didn't have to change who I was.
No.
And I think that's what's most important.
He's the same person that he was
Yes.
the whole time.
Right. Cool.
There's no trap door.
Right.
Nope.
Yep.
Not here. Didn't
Yep.
happen. Well, thank you very much.
Of course.
This was
Thank
great.
you.